The birth of a child is typically one of a parent's happiest moments, but all too soon thereafter, the questions and concerns often flood in. Is she healthy? Am I up to the task of raising him? Will she do well in school? Can we afford college? But what if the lovely child born unto you faced a mountain of biased and stunting statistics? Not because of who he was as an individual, but due to the society he was born in and the demographic groups he happened to fall into. Joining me to lend context to this issue is Frank Rudy Cooper, tenured professor at Suffolk University's Law School. With a scholarly focus on the policing of men of color, he is also the co-editor of the book Masculinities and the Law, a Multidimensional Approach. Welcome.
Thank you.
Pleased to have you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
You contend that boys and young men of color risk their racial credibility, as it were, by succeeding academically in school. What do you mean by that?
You know, I think back to, I grew up here in Cambridge, right next door to Arlington. And when I went to the public schools and grammar school, I didn't experience much of this, but I got to high school, and one of my first experiences, a semester in, I got an A average. And first, all the teachers in my program came up and said, "Frank, great job, way to go, good. Yeah. And then I had a friend of sorts, a peer, a year older than me, come up to me and say, you know, you're being white. What's going on with you? And that kind of experience is the danger of being seen as either being black or being high achieving.
Your son, I think, is in the neighborhood of 11 or so now.
Yeah, he just turned 11.
Is this something that you have a sense that he's experienced to date?
Yeah, a little bit I do. Of course, it's hard to speak for an 11-year-old even. Already they're such, you know, well-developed personalities, and they have their own sense of their own experience. Right. What I would say is that I observed that my son felt that he was being challenged for speaking up too much in class, for being a know-it-all, and that some of that may have been related to race, that he felt that he was particularly being challenged by other black boys or boys of color. I think that people of color often have a hard time knowing how to relate to people of color in this diverse and majority white world. So when I think of kids, you know, what do they make of that if they see that most of the kids that are sort of held out as high achieving are white, and then they see this one black boy, and really there were many boys of color in his school who were high achieving, but a number of them had moved on by the time he had this experience, and so he sort of stood out. Right. And I think the kids, black and white and other, really had a hard time knowing what to make of that. It didn't fit their expectations.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining me today. I appreciate it. For Professor Frank Cooper, I'm Peter Bermudez for Arlington Public News.